You have worked hard. You have shown up early, stayed late, carried the weight others would not carry, and yet something feels incomplete. Not broken, just incomplete. Because working harder only brings you more work. Trading time for money is not freedom. It is a transaction that never ends. This audiobook will not teach you to work harder. It will teach you to build differently, to design systems that earn while you rest, to become the architect of your own freedom. Stay with me. What you are about to hear may change the way you see wealth forever. Chapter 1. The Silent Prison. There is a kind of prison that has no walls, no guards, no locks. You walk into it every morning and you leave it every evening. You are free to come and go, and yet you are not free at all. This prison is built from hours, from shifts, from the belief that your value is measured by how much time you give away. Most people spend their entire lives inside this prison without ever questioning it. They wake up tired, work through the day, return home exhausted and repeat the cycle. They are told this is responsibility. This is what adults do. This is how the world works. And because everyone around them is doing the same thing, it feels normal. It feels right. It feels like the only way. But deep down, in the quiet moments before sleep, something whispers. Something asks, is this all there is? You have worked for years. You have been reliable. You have sacrificed weekends, evenings, energy. And yet the gap between where you are and where you want to be does not seem to shrink. It stays the same, or it grows wider. This is not because you are lazy. It is not because you lack discipline. It is because you are operating inside a system that was not designed to set you free. It was designed to keep you productive, to keep you working, to keep you trading your most valuable resource, your time, for money that disappears almost as quickly as it arrives. Let me be clear. I am not here to tell you that work is bad. Work is noble. Effort is honorable. But there is a difference between working to survive and working to build. There is a difference between being the engine and being the engineer. Most people are engines. They power someone else's machine. They generate value, but they do not own it. They create momentum, but they do not control the direction. The silent prison is this. You are rewarded for showing up, but not for thinking differently. You are paid for your time, but not for your ideas. You are valued for your labor, but not for your leverage. And as long as you stay inside this model, your income will always have a ceiling. Because there are only so many hours in a day, only so much energy in your body, only so many years before your strength fades. Wealthy people understand something that most workers do not. They understand that time is the one resource you cannot buy back. You can earn more money. You can rebuild relationships. You can recover from mistakes. But you cannot recover lost time. Every hour you spend working for someone else is an hour you did not spend building for yourself. Every year you delay becoming a builder is a year you will not get back. This chapter is not meant to make you feel guilty. It is meant to make you aware. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. You cannot escape a prison you do not know you are in. And the truth is, most people never realize. They work hard. They retire tired, and they wonder why wealth never came. They wonder why freedom never arrived. They assume it was bad luck, bad timing, bad circumstances. But it was none of those things. It was a misunderstanding of how wealth actually works. Wealth is not created by trading time for money. Wealth is created by building assets that generate income independently of your time. Wealth is not about working harder. It is about working differently. It is about designing systems that pay you even when you are resting, even when you are sleeping, even when you are spending time with the people you love. The shift from worker to builder is not easy. It requires you to think in ways you were not taught. It requires you to delay gratification. It requires you to invest time, energy, and sometimes money into things that do not pay you immediately. But this shift is the only way out of the silent prison. This shift is the doorway to freedom. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The prison you are in is not made of iron. It is made of belief. The belief that working harder is the answer. The belief that if you just push a little more, sacrifice a little more, endure a little more, you will finally arrive. But arrival never comes, not through effort alone. Arrival comes through ownership, through systems, through assets. And here is the truth that no one tells you. You do not need to be special to start building. You do not need to be brilliant. You do not need a trust fund or a wealthy family. You do not need permission. You need clarity. You need patience. You need the willingness to see time differently, to see money differently, to see yourself differently. The moment you stop seeing yourself as a worker and start seeing yourself as a builder, everything changes. The way you spend your evenings changes. The way you think about your paycheck changes. The way you measure success changes. Because a worker measures success by how much they earned this month. A builder measures success by how much their systems earned while they were away. This is not a fantasy. This is not motivational dreaming. This is how wealthy people operate. They do not chase income. They build assets. They do not sell their time. They multiply it. They do not work harder. They build smarter. And the beautiful part is, you can do the same. You can start today. You can start small. You can start with almost nothing. But you must start with the right understanding of what wealth actually is. So let me ask you this. If you could design a life where your income was not tied to your hours, what would that life look like? If you could wake up tomorrow and know that money was flowing into your life even while you rested, how would that change the way you feel? How would that change the choices you make? How would that change the relationships you protect? That life is possible, but it will not come from working harder at the same job. It will not come from hoping your employer notices your effort. It will come from building, from creating, from designing systems that work on your behalf. And the first step is understanding that time is not something you sell. Time is something you invest. Time is the currency that builds everything else. In the next chapter, we will explore what it means to see time as currency, not as hours on a timesheet, but as the raw material of wealth. Because once you understand how wealthy thinkers measure time, you will never see your day the same way again. Chapter 2. Time as currency. When you were young, you were taught that time is money. Work an hour, earn a wage. Work more hours, earn more money. It sounded fair, it sounded logical, and for a while, it worked. You traded your time, and you received money in return. The transaction was clear. But as you grew older, something became clear as well. The transaction was not equal. Because time is finite, and money is not. You can always make more money. You can earn it, borrow it, invest it, multiply it. But you cannot make more time. Once an hour is gone, it is gone forever. You cannot buy it back. You cannot pause it. You cannot save it for later. Time moves in one direction, and it does not wait. Wealthy people understand this deeply. They do not see time as something to sell. They see time as something to invest. And there is a profound difference between selling and investing. When you sell your time, you get paid once. When you invest your time, you get paid repeatedly. When you sell your time, the value ends when the hour ends. When you invest your time, the value compounds. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people. Both work hard, both are intelligent, both are disciplined. The first person works a job. They trade 40 hours a week for a paycheck. They are reliable. They show up. They do good work. At the end of the month, they are paid. At the end of the year, they are paid 12 times. If they stop working, the money stops. Their income is directly tied to their presence. The second person also works hard, but they do not trade their time for a paycheck. Instead, they spend their evenings and weekends building something. Maybe they write a book. Maybe they create a course. Maybe they build a small online business. Maybe they invest in rental property. Whatever it is, they are building an asset. Something that can generate income without requiring their constant presence. At first, the second person earns less, much less. They are working just as hard, but they are not getting paid immediately. Their friends think they are wasting time. Their family worries. They themselves sometimes wonder if they are making a mistake. But they continue. They build. They improve. They learn. And slowly, quietly, the asset begins to pay them. Not much at first, but enough to notice. Years pass. The first person is still working 40 hours a week. They have received raises. They have been promoted. They earn more than they did at the beginning. But their income is still tied to their time. If they take a month off, they lose a month of income. If they get sick, the money stops. If they want to travel, they must ask for permission. Their freedom is borrowed, not owned. The second person is different now. The asset they built is generating income. It is not enough to replace their job yet, but it is growing. And because they understand how this works, they build another asset, and another. And over time, these assets compound. They earn while the person sleeps, while they spend time with family, while they rest. The income is no longer tied to hours. It is tied to ownership. This is what it means to see time as currency. It means understanding that the hours you have today are the most valuable thing you own. More valuable than your car, more valuable than your savings, more valuable than anything in your possession, because time is the raw material of everything else. Time is what you invest to build assets. Time is what you use to learn skills. Time is what you trade for knowledge, relationships, systems, and leverage. But most people do not treat time this way. They spend it casually. They waste it on things that do not matter. They give it away to distractions, to arguments, to scrolling, to noise. And then they wonder why they have no wealth. They wonder why they feel stuck. They wonder why the years pass but nothing changes. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. People are frugal when it comes to money, but wasteful when it comes to time. They guard their wallets but not their calendars. They negotiate salaries but not their schedules. They protect their savings but not their attention. Wealthy thinkers do the opposite. They are ruthless with their time. They do not attend meetings that do not matter. They do not engage in conversations that drain them. They do not spend hours on things that do not build towards something. Every hour is measured. Every day is invested. Not because they are cold or calculated, but because they understand the truth. Time is the only currency that cannot be replenished. And here is the part that changes everything. When you begin to see time as currency, you stop thinking in terms of hours and start thinking in terms of outcomes. You stop asking, "How much will I earn per hour?" and start asking, "What will this time create?" You stop measuring your day by how busy you were and start measuring it by how much you built. You stop feeling proud of working long hours and start feeling proud of working smart hours. This does not mean you become lazy. It does not mean you stop working. It means you become intentional. It means you start asking yourself, is this the best use of my time right now? Is this moving me toward ownership, or is this just keeping me busy? Is this building an asset, or is this just paying a bill? Most people never ask these questions. They accept their schedule as it is. They accept their routine as permanent. They do not question whether their time is being invested or wasted, and so they stay in the same place year after year, working hard but never building. But you are different. You are reading this because something inside you knows there is another way. You are listening because you are ready to see time differently, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you understand that time is currency, you will never trade it carelessly again. So let me ask you, how are you spending your currency right now? Are you investing it into things that will pay you back? Or are you spending it on things that disappear the moment they are done? Are you building systems, or are you just surviving? Are you creating leverage, or are you just working harder? The answer to these questions will determine everything, because wealth is not built by working more hours. Wealth is built by investing those hours into things that multiply, into skills that increase your value, into systems that generate income, into assets that compound over time. And the beautiful part is, you do not need to invest all your time. You do not need to quit your job tomorrow. You do not need to take huge risks. You just need to start treating your evenings differently, your weekends differently, your free hours differently. Instead of spending them, invest them. Instead of consuming, create. Instead of resting in distraction, rest in progress. This is how builders think. They do not see time as something to fill. They see time as something to multiply. They do not measure their day by how tired they are. They measure it by what they built. And over time, those small investments compound into something remarkable, into freedom, into ownership, into wealth. In the next chapter, we will go deeper into the builder's mindset. We will explore what it means to stop being the source of income and start designing the source. Because once you understand this shift, everything you do will change. Your decisions will change, your priorities will change, and your future will change. Chapter 3. The Builder's Mindset. There are two ways to approach work. The first is to be the source. The second is to design the source. Most people are the source. They are the ones doing the work. They are the ones solving the problems. They are the ones showing up, performing, delivering. And when they stop, the work stops. When they rest, the income stops. They are the engine, and the engine must keep running. Builders are different. Builders design the source. They create systems that work without them. They build machines that generate results even when they are not present. They are not the engine. They are the engineer. And there is a profound difference between the two. Let me give you an example. Imagine a baker, a skilled baker who wakes up early every morning, mixes dough, bakes bread, and sells it at the market. The baker works hard. The bread is excellent. Customers love it. The baker earns money every day, but the baker must be there. Every single day. If the baker gets sick, there is no bread. If the baker takes a vacation, there is no income. The baker is the source. Now imagine the same baker, but with a different mindset. Instead of baking bread every day, the baker hires apprentices, trains them, teaches them the recipes, sets up a small bakery, creates a system for quality control, designs a process that works without constant supervision. Now the baker is no longer the source. The bakery is the source. The system is the source. The baker can step away, and the bread still gets baked. The income still flows. The business still runs. This is the builder's mindset. It is not about working less. It is about building systems that work independently. It is about creating value that does not require your constant presence. It is about designing machines, whether literal or metaphorical, that generate results on your behalf. Most people never make this shift. They stay in the mindset of being the source. They believe their value comes from how hard they work, how many hours they put in, how much they sacrifice. And because they are rewarded for this, they continue. They get raises for working harder, promotions for staying longer, bonuses for doing more, and so they never question the model. They never ask, what if I built something instead? The shift from source to designer is not easy. It requires you to think differently. It requires you to invest time into things that do not pay you immediately. It requires you to delay gratification, to build in silence, to trust that the work you are doing today will pay you tomorrow, next month, next year. And most people are not willing to do that. They want immediate returns, immediate validation, immediate proof that their effort is worth it. But builders understand something deeper. They understand that the most valuable things take time to build. A house is not built in a day. A business is not built in a week. A skill is not mastered in a month. Wealth is not created overnight. It is created slowly, quietly, through consistent investment into systems that compound over time. And here is the part that most people miss. Building does not mean you stop working. It does not mean you sit back and wait for money to appear. It means you work differently. It means you spend your effort creating things that will continue to work after you stop. It means you invest your time into designing systems that multiply your output. Let me give you another example. Imagine a teacher. A teacher works hard, prepares lessons, teaches students, grades papers. The teacher is valuable. The students learn. But the teacher is paid for hours, for presence, for direct interaction. If the teacher stops teaching, the income stops. The teacher is the source. Now imagine the same teacher, but with a builder's mindset. The teacher records their lessons, creates a course, publishes it online. Now students from around the world can learn from this teacher. The course is sold while the teacher sleeps, while the teacher spends time with family, while the teacher works on other projects. The teacher is no longer the source. The course is the source. The system is the source. This is not about replacing teachers. It is not about removing the human element. It is about understanding that your value can be packaged, your knowledge can be systemized, your expertise can be leveraged. And when you do this, you are no longer limited by your hours. You are no longer trading time for money. You are building assets that generate income independently. The builder's mindset is about ownership. It is about creating things you control, things that work for you, not the other way around. And this mindset applies to everything. You can build a business. You can build content. You can build products. You can build skills that increase your value. You can build relationships that open doors. You can build systems that automate tasks. You can build assets that generate cash flow. But it all starts with the decision to stop being the source and start designing the source. It starts with asking yourself, what can I create that will continue to deliver value after I stop working on it? What can I build that will pay me more than once? What can I design that will compound over time? Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, taught that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. But I would add this: wealth also consists in owning things that work for you, in building systems that generate freedom, in creating value that does not require your constant sacrifice. Most people spend their entire lives working for money. Builders spend their time building things that generate money. Most people are exhausted because they are the engine. Builders are calm because they designed the engine. Most people retire tired. Builders retire free. And here is the truth that nobody tells you. You do not need to build something massive to benefit from this mindset. You do not need to create a billion-dollar company. You do not need to build an empire. You just need to build one small system, one small asset, one small source of income that works independently of your time, and then you build another and another. And over time, these systems compound. They stack, they multiply, and eventually they set you free. The reason most people never build is not because they lack ideas, it is because they lack patience. They start building something, and when it does not pay them immediately, they quit. They return to trading time for money because it feels safer, it feels more certain, and so they stay in the cycle, they stay as the source, and they never experience the freedom that comes from ownership. But you are different. You are listening to this because you understand that there is another way. You understand that building takes time. You understand that the first system you create might not make much money. It might not work perfectly. It might need improvement. But it is a start. And starting is everything. Because once you build your first system, something changes inside you. You begin to see the world differently. You begin to see opportunities everywhere. You begin to ask yourself, how could I systemize this? How could I automate this? How could I design this so it works without me? And those questions change everything. So let me ask you this. What is one thing you could build that would continue to deliver value after you stop working on it? What is one skill you could package, one idea you could create, one system you could design? It does not need to be perfect. It just needs to exist. Because the act of building is what transforms you from a worker into a builder. And that transformation is the beginning of freedom. In the next chapter, we will go deeper into what systems actually are. We will break them down in simple language. We will explore how small systems quietly outperform heroic effort. And we will uncover why most people resist building systems, even when they understand the value. Because understanding is not enough. You must also understand the resistance. And once you do, you can move past it. Chapter 4. What systems really are. When you hear the word system, you might think of something complicated, something technical, something only engineers or business owners understand. But that is not what a system is. A system is simply a process that produces a result repeatedly without requiring your constant involvement. It is a structure that works on your behalf. Let me give you the simplest example. Imagine you plant a fruit tree. In the beginning, you must dig the hole. You must water it. You must protect it from harsh weather. You must tend to it. This requires effort. This requires time. And for months, maybe even years, the tree gives you nothing. No fruit, no return, just work. But if you continue, if you care for the tree patiently, something happens. The tree begins to grow, its roots deepen, its branches spread, and eventually it bears fruit. And here is the beautiful part. Once the tree is established, it continues to bear fruit year after year. You do not need to replant it every season. You do not need to work as hard as you did in the beginning. The tree is now a system. It produces results repeatedly with minimal ongoing effort. This is what a system does. It requires effort up front, but it delivers results over time. It works for you long after the initial work is done. And the key insight is this. Wealthy people plant trees. Poor people pick fruit. Wealthy people build systems. Poor people trade time. Now let me be clear. I'm not saying poor people are lazy. I'm saying they were never taught to think in systems. They were taught to work hard, to show up, to trade hours for dollars. And so they do. They work incredibly hard. They sacrifice. They endure. But they never build anything that works without them. And so they stay stuck. Systems are everywhere once you start looking for them. A book is a system. You write it once and it can sell forever. A video is a system. You create it once and it can be watched millions of times. A course is a system. You design it once and it can teach thousands of people. A rental property is a system. You buy it once and it generates income every month. A business is a system. You build it once and it can serve customers without your direct involvement. But here is what most people do not understand. Systems do not need to be big to be valuable. They do not need to be complicated. They do not need to make you rich overnight. They just need to work. They just need to produce a result repeatedly, because even a small system, when compounded over time, becomes significant. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who creates a simple digital checklist, a guide for something they are good at. Maybe it is a meal planning template. Maybe it is a workout routine. Maybe it is a productivity framework. They sell it online for $5. In the first month, they make $20. Not much. Barely worth the effort. Most people would quit. But this person understands systems. They do not quit. They improve the product. They share it in more places. They gather feedback and make it better. Slowly, sales increase. $10 a month, then $50, then $100. After a year, this small system is generating $300 a month. That is $3,600 a year. Passive income, money that flows in while they sleep, while they work their job, while they spend time with family. Now imagine they build another small system, and another. Over time they have 5 small systems, each generating a few $100s a month. Together they produce significant income that is not tied to their hours, income that compounds as they improve the systems, income that gives them options, freedom, breathing room. This is the power of small systems. They do not need to replace your income immediately. They just need to exist, because once you have one system working, you understand how to build another, and another. And over time, these systems stack. They multiply, they compound, and eventually they set you free. But most people never build even one system. Why? Because building a system requires something most people are not willing to give: delayed gratification. A system does not pay you immediately, it pays you later, and most people cannot tolerate later. They want now, they want proof, they want certainty, and so they return to trading time for money, because at least that pays today. This is the emotional resistance people feel toward building systems. It is not logical. It is emotional. It is the discomfort of working on something that does not reward you immediately. It is the fear of wasting time. It is the doubt that whispers, "What if this does not work? What if I invest all this effort and get nothing in return?" And so they quit before the system has a chance to work. They plant the tree, water it for a few weeks, see no fruit, and walk away. They do not understand that the fruit comes later, that the system needs time to establish itself, that patience is part of the process. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher, said, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. A tree does not rush to grow, a river does not rush to carve the canyon. They move slowly, steadily, patiently, and over time they create something remarkable. Systems work the same way. They do not hurry, but they accomplish everything." The reason small systems quietly outperform heroic effort is simple. Heroic effort burns you out. It requires constant energy, constant presence, constant sacrifice, and when you stop, everything stops. But a system, once built, works without burning you out. It runs in the background. It generates results while you rest. It compounds while you focus on other things. Imagine 2 people again. The first person works 2 jobs. They hustle, they grind, they barely sleep. They earn more than the average person because they work twice as hard, but they are exhausted. They have no time, no energy, no freedom, and if they stop working, the money stops immediately. The second person works 1 job, but in their evenings they build systems, small digital products, automated services, investments. They do not earn as much in the beginning, but over time their systems start to pay them, and because the systems work independently, they can focus on building more systems. Eventually the systems generate more income than the 2 jobs combined, and the person is not exhausted. They are calm, they are free, they have time. This is the difference between heroic effort and systematic thinking. Heroic effort is impressive. It is admirable. But it is not sustainable. Systems are quiet. They are patient, but they are unstoppable. So let me ask you this. What is one small system you could build this month? Not something massive. Not something that will change your life overnight. Just something small. Something that could produce a result repeatedly. It could be a document you sell, a service you automate, a skill you package, a piece of content you create. It does not matter what it is. It just matters that you start. Because once you build your first small system, you will understand. You will see how it works. You will feel the shift. You will stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like a builder. And that shift, that quiet transformation, is the beginning of everything. In the next chapter, we will explore why people delay building systems even when they understand the logic. We will talk about fear, impatience, and identity. We will uncover the deeper reasons people stay stuck, and we will discover how consistency, not intensity, dissolves fear over time. Because understanding systems is not enough. You must also understand yourself. And once you do, nothing can stop you. Chapter 5. Why we delay. You understand the logic. You know that building systems makes sense. You know that trading time for money is not freedom. You know that assets generate income while you rest. You know all of this, and yet you have not started. Or maybe you started and stopped. Maybe you began building something, felt the discomfort and walked away. Maybe you told yourself you would start next month, next year, when things settle down, when you have more time, when you feel more ready. But next month arrives and you still have not started. Next year comes and nothing has changed. You are still trading time for money, still feeling stuck, still knowing there is a better way, but not taking the step. Why? Why do people delay building even when they understand the value? The answer is not laziness. It is not lack of intelligence. It is not even lack of time. The answer is fear. Fear of failure, fear of wasting effort, fear of looking foolish, fear of investing time into something that might not work, fear of delayed gratification, fear of the gap between effort and reward. Let me explain. When you work a job, the relationship between effort and reward is immediate. You work today, you get paid this week or this month. The feedback loop is short. The result is predictable. You know what you will earn. You know when you will earn it. There is certainty, and certainty feels safe. But when you build a system, the relationship between effort and reward is delayed. You work today, and you might not see results for months, maybe years. The feedback loop is long. The result is uncertain. You do not know if it will work. You do not know if people will buy it. You do not know if the effort will pay off. There is uncertainty. And uncertainty feels terrifying. So most people choose certainty. They choose the paycheck. They choose the known path, even if the known path leads nowhere, even if the known path keeps them stuck. Because the fear of uncertainty is stronger than the desire for freedom, because the discomfort of delayed gratification is more painful than the frustration of staying the same. This is why people delay. Not because they do not want freedom, but because they are afraid of the discomfort required to get there. They are afraid of working hard on something that might not pay them back. They are afraid of investing time and getting nothing in return. They are afraid of looking back and thinking, I wasted my time. But here is the truth. You are already wasting your time. Every hour you spend working for someone else without building for yourself is time you will not get back. Every year you delay is a year you could have been compounding. Every month you wait is a month your systems could have been growing. The question is not whether you will invest time. The question is whether you will invest it into something that pays you once or something that pays you repeatedly. Let me tell you something that nobody tells you. Building systems is uncomfortable. It is supposed to be uncomfortable because you are doing something unfamiliar. You are stepping outside the model you were taught. You are betting on yourself in a way you have never done before. And that feels vulnerable. It feels risky. It feels like you might fail. But failure is not the risk. Staying the same is the risk. Working your entire life and never owning anything is the risk. Trading your time until there is no time left is the risk. Failure is just feedback. Failure is just data. Failure is just part of the process. But never starting is the only true failure. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of the fear you feel about building systems is not based on reality. It is based on imagination. On worst-case scenarios that will probably never happen. On the possibility that you might invest effort and not succeed immediately. But the reality is this. Even if your first system does not work, you will learn, you will grow, you will understand how to build better next time. And that knowledge, that experience, is an asset in itself. The other reason people delay is identity. They do not see themselves as builders. They see themselves as workers, as employees, as people who show up and do what they are told. And building systems requires a different identity. It requires you to see yourself as someone who creates, someone who designs, someone who owns. And that shift is uncomfortable, because it means letting go of the identity you have carried for years. But here is the beautiful part. Identity is not fixed. Identity is flexible. You are not defined by what you have done. You are defined by what you choose to do next. And the moment you decide to build something, you become a builder. The moment you create your first system, you become a creator. The moment you take ownership of your future, you become an owner. This shift does not happen overnight. It happens slowly. It happens through action, through consistency, through choosing to build even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is uncertain, even when nobody is watching, because identity is not something you claim. Identity is something you earn through repeated action. And here is the part that dissolves fear over time: consistency. When you build consistently, even in small ways, you begin to trust yourself. You begin to see that you are capable. You begin to believe that you can create value. And that belief, that quiet confidence, is what carries you through the discomfort. It is what keeps you building when results are slow. It is what helps you tolerate delayed gratification. Most people give up because they expect immediate results. They build for a few weeks and expect the system to pay them. And when it does not, they assume it failed. They assume they wasted their time. They assume building systems does not work. But they are wrong. The system did not fail. They just quit too early. They did not give the system time to compound. They did not give themselves time to learn. They did not trust the process. Consistency beats intensity every time. Intensity is exciting. It feels productive. It feels like progress. But intensity burns out. Intensity fades. Intensity cannot be sustained. Consistency is quiet. It is boring. It feels slow. But consistency compounds. Consistency builds momentum. Consistency creates trust. And over time, consistency transforms you from someone who dreams about freedom into someone who owns it. So let me ask you this. What would happen if you committed to building for just 1 hour a day? Not forever. Not with the pressure of perfection. Just 1 hour. What could you create in a month? In 6 months? In a year? What system could you design if you stayed consistent, even when it felt uncomfortable, even when results were slow? The answer is more than you think. Because 1 hour a day, invested into building, compounds into something remarkable. It compounds into skill. into confidence, into assets, into freedom. But only if you start, only if you stay consistent, only if you tolerate the discomfort long enough for the system to work. And here is the final truth about delay. Every day you wait is a day you lose, not because you are lazy, but because time is the one currency you cannot recover. You can always earn more money, you can always try again, but you cannot get back the year you spent waiting. You cannot reclaim the months you spent afraid. The cost of delay is not failure. The cost of delay is time, and time, once lost, is gone forever. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for certainty, because the perfect moment does not exist. You will never feel fully ready. Certainty only comes after you start. The only way forward is to begin, to build, to create, even if it is small, even if it is imperfect, even if you are afraid. In the next chapter, we will explore what assets really are. We will break them down in a deeply intuitive way. We will talk about cash flow assets, appreciating assets, and protective assets. And we will discover how ownership, even small ownership, changes the way you see the world. Because once you own something that works for you, you will never want to go back to just working for money. Chapter 6. Understanding assets. Most people think assets are things you buy, a house, a car, a piece of jewelry. But those are not assets. Those are possessions. And there is a profound difference. A possession is something you own. An asset is something that owns value for you. A possession costs you money. An asset makes you money. A possession drains your resources. An asset fills them. Let me give you a simple test. If you had to leave for a year and could not work, would the thing you own pay you? Would it generate income while you are gone? If the answer is no, it is not an asset. It is a possession. It might be valuable. It might be useful. But it is not working for you. You are working for it. Your car is not an asset. It depreciates. It requires maintenance. It costs you fuel, insurance, repairs. It takes money from you. It does not give money to you. Your house, the one you live in, is not an asset. Yes, it might appreciate in value, but it is not generating income. It is costing you mortgage, taxes, maintenance, utilities. It is not paying you. You are paying it. But a rental property, that is an asset. It generates income every month. It pays you whether you are there or not, whether you are working or resting. The tenant pays rent. The rent covers the mortgage and generates cash flow. And over time, the property appreciates. That is an asset. It works for you. A business that runs without you, that is an asset. A book that sells while you sleep, that is an asset. A course that teaches people while you rest, that is an asset. A portfolio of investments that pays dividends, that is an asset. Anything that generates income independently of your time is an asset. Everything else is a possession. Now let me break assets down into 3 categories, because understanding this will change the way you build wealth. First, there are cash flow assets. These are assets that pay you regularly, monthly, quarterly, annually. They generate income that you can use today. Rental properties are cash flow assets. Dividend-paying stocks are cash flow assets. Royalties from books or music are cash flow assets. A business that generates profit is a cash flow asset. These are the assets that give you freedom because they replace your need to work for money. Second, there are appreciating assets. These are assets that grow in value over time. Real estate often appreciates. Stocks appreciate. Rare collectibles appreciate. Businesses appreciate if they grow. These assets do not pay you immediately, but they increase your net worth. They store value. They protect you from inflation. They build wealth quietly in the background. Third, there are protective assets. These are assets that protect your wealth. Insurance is a protective asset. It does not make you money, but it protects you from catastrophic loss. Savings are a protective asset. They give you stability. They give you options. They protect you from emergencies. Skills are protective assets. If you lose your job, your skills allow you to earn again. Knowledge is a protective asset. It cannot be taken from you. Wealthy people build all three types of assets. They do not just chase cash flow. They do not just focus on appreciation. They build a balanced system. They own assets that pay them today. They own assets that grow for tomorrow. And they own assets that protect them from disaster. This is how wealth is built, not through one big investment, but through a portfolio of assets that work together. But here is what most people do. They earn money, and they spend it on possessions. They buy things that make them feel successful, but do not generate income. They buy cars they cannot afford. They buy clothes they do not need. They buy gadgets that lose value the moment they leave the store. And then they wonder why they have no wealth. They wonder why they feel broke even though they earn a decent income. The reason is simple. They are buying liabilities and calling them assets. They are spending money on things that cost them instead of things that pay them. And so their money flows out, but it never flows back in. They work hard, they earn, they spend, and they start over, month after month, year after year. And nothing ever changes. But builders think differently. Builders delay the purchase of possessions. They invest first. They buy assets. They build systems. They create things that generate income. And only after their assets are paying them, only after their systems are working, do they buy the possessions they want. And when they do buy them, the possessions are paid for by the assets, not by their time, not by their labor, but by the systems they built. This is the difference between rich and wealthy. Rich people buy possessions. Wealthy people buy assets. Rich people look successful. Wealthy people are free. Rich people have nice things. Wealthy people have time. Rich people work hard to maintain their lifestyle. Wealthy people build systems that maintain their lifestyle for them. And here is the part that changes everything. You do not need a lot of money to start building assets. You do not need to buy a rental property tomorrow. You do not need to invest in the stock market if you are not ready. You can start with the smallest asset imaginable: a digital product, a skill, a piece of content, a service, anything that can generate income more than once. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who is good at organizing. They create a simple guide. 10 steps to organize your home. They sell it for $3. It is not much, but it is an asset. It is something they created once that can sell repeatedly. In the first month, they make $9, 3 sales, barely anything. But they do not quit. They improve the guide. They share it in more places. They add value. And slowly, sales increase. After 6 months, the guide is generating $30 a month. After a year, $60. After 2 years, $100 a month. That is $1,200 a year. Passive income, money that flows in without additional work. And now this person understands assets. They understand how to create value that compounds. So they create another guide, and another, and over time, they have 10 small assets, each generating $100 a month. That is $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, all from small, simple assets. This is the power of ownership. You do not need to build one massive asset. You can build many small assets, and together they create significant income. Income that is not tied to your hours. Income that gives you options, freedom, breathing room. Aristotle once said, "The whole is greater than the sum of its parts." This is true for assets. One asset is valuable, but a collection of assets is powerful because they stack, they compound, they support each other. And over time they create a foundation that cannot be shaken. But most people never build even one asset. They spend their entire lives working for money and spending it on things that do not work for them. And so they never experience the shift that happens when you own something that pays you. They never feel the freedom that comes from knowing that money is flowing in, even when you are not working. They never understand how ownership changes the way you see the world. Because once you own an asset, everything changes. You stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like an investor. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "Will this generate income?" You stop measuring success by how much you earn and start measuring it by how much your assets earn. And that shift, that quiet transformation, is the beginning of wealth. So let me ask you this. What is one small asset you could create this month? Not something expensive, not something complicated, just something small, something that could generate income more than once. It could be a guide, a template, a tutorial, a service, anything that delivers value repeatedly. It does not need to make you rich. It just needs to exist. Because once you build your first asset, you will understand, you will see how it works, and you will never stop building. In the next chapter, we will explore how wealth can be built at any income level. We will talk about the stages of building, how to start with time, how to automate modest income, how to accelerate growth, and how to compound freedom. Because wealth is not about how much you earn. It is about how much you keep, how much you invest, and how much you build. And anyone, at any income level, can start building today. Chapter 7. Building with any income. There is a belief that you need money to make money, that wealth is only for the rich, that if you are not earning a high income, you cannot build assets. But this belief is a lie. It is a comforting lie, because it allows people to stay where they are. It gives them an excuse. It lets them say, "I would build wealth if I had more money, but I do not, so I cannot." But the truth is this: wealth is not built with money. Wealth is built with time, attention, and consistency. Money helps. Money accelerates, but money is not the starting point. The starting point is the decision to build, the decision to invest your time into creating something that will pay you repeatedly. And that decision costs nothing. Let me show you how wealth is built in stages, regardless of income level. Stage 1 is building with time. This is where everyone starts. You have no extra money, you have no investments, you have no assets, but you have time. You have evenings, you have weekends, you have hours that you currently spend consuming, scrolling, watching, resting. And those hours, if redirected, can become the foundation of everything. In stage 1, you do not invest money. You invest time. You learn a skill. You create something. You build a small system. You do not get paid immediately. You do not see results right away, but you are planting seeds. You are creating value. And if you stay consistent, those seeds will grow. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone earning a modest income. They work a job, they pay their bills. They have almost nothing left at the end of the month. They cannot invest in real estate. They cannot buy stocks. They cannot hire people. But they have time. So they decide to learn a skill. Maybe graphic design, maybe writing, maybe video editing. They spend 1 hour every evening learning, practicing, improving. After 6 months, they are decent. Not great, but decent. So they start offering their skill as a service. They charge small amounts. $20 for a logo, $50 for an article. They work evenings and weekends. The income is small, but it is income they created. Income that did not exist before. And now they have something most people do not have. Proof that they can create value independently. This is stage 1. Building with time. It is slow, it is uncomfortable, it requires patience, but it works. And once you have created even a small amount of income from something you built, you move to stage 2. Stage 2 is automating modest income. Now you have a skill, you have clients, you have some income. But you are still trading time for money, you are still the source. So you begin to systemize. You create templates, you build processes, you record your methods. You create digital products that deliver the same value without requiring your direct time. Maybe you turn your design skill into templates that people can buy. Maybe you turn your writing into courses. Maybe you turn your knowledge into guides. You are no longer just offering a service. You are building assets. Things that can be sold repeatedly. Things that generate income while you sleep. At first the income is modest. Maybe $100 a month. Maybe $200. It is not enough to quit your job. It is not enough to replace your income. But it is enough to prove that the system works. It is enough to show you that assets are real. And now you have momentum. You have confidence. You have proof. This is stage 2, automating modest income. And once you reach this stage, you can begin to accelerate. Stage 3 is accelerating growth. Now you have systems, you have assets, you have income flowing in from things you created, and you begin to reinvest that income, not into possessions, not into things that drain you, but into more assets, into better tools, into learning, into growth. Maybe you use the income from your templates to hire someone to handle customer support. Maybe you invest in better software. Maybe you use it to buy advertising that brings more customers. Maybe you invest it into learning a new skill that opens new opportunities. You are no longer just building, you are scaling, you are multiplying, you are compounding, and as your assets grow, your income grows. And as your income grows, you reinvest more. And the cycle continues. This is how wealth compounds, not through one big win, but through small, consistent reinvestment, through building systems that stack, through creating assets that multiply. Stage 4 is compounding freedom. This is where your assets generate enough income that you have real choices. You can work less. You can choose projects you care about. You can say no to things that drain you. You can spend time with people you love. You can rest without guilt, because your systems are working, your assets are paying you, and your freedom is no longer borrowed. It is owned. This does not mean you stop building. It means you build from a place of freedom instead of desperation. You build because you want to, not because you have to. You create because it fulfills you, not because it pays the bills. And that shift, that movement from survival to creation, is what true wealth feels like. Now let me be clear, these stages take time. They take years. They require patience. They require consistency. But they work. And they work at any income level. You do not need to earn 6 figures to start. You do not need savings. You do not need investors. You just need time, attention, and the willingness to build. I have seen people build wealth starting with nothing. I have seen people who earned minimum wage create digital products that eventually replaced their income. I have seen people who could not afford to invest in stocks build skills that became more valuable than any stock portfolio. I have seen people who had no advantages, no connections, no resources, build systems that set them free. And they all started the same way, with time, with patience, with the decision to build. Confucius once said, "The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones." You do not need to move the mountain today. You just need to carry one stone. You do not need to build a massive business. You just need to create one small asset, and then another, and another. And over time, those small stones become a mountain. Those small assets become freedom. So let me ask you this. What is one small thing you could build this week with the time you already have? Not something that requires money, not something that requires resources, just something you could create with your evenings, with your weekends. with the hours you currently spend consuming instead of creating. It could be a document, a guide, a video, a template, a service, anything that delivers value to someone else. It does not need to be perfect. It does not need to be massive. It just needs to exist. Because the act of creating something, anything, is what transforms you from a worker into a builder. And that transformation is priceless. In the next chapter, we will explore digital assets as modern tools of leverage. We will talk about how ideas, content, and knowledge can travel without you. We will discover why digital assets are the most accessible form of wealth for most people, and we will uncover how the internet has created opportunities that did not exist a generation ago. Because if you are willing to build, the tools are already in your hands. Chapter 8. Digital Assets and Leverage. There was a time when building wealth required capital. You needed money to buy land, money to start a business, money to invest. And if you did not have money, you were locked out. You could work hard. You could save. But building assets was reserved for those who already had resources. The barrier to entry was high, and most people could not cross it. But something changed. The internet arrived, and with it came a new kind of asset. Digital assets. Assets that do not require physical space. Assets that do not require factories or warehouses or storefronts. Assets that can be created with nothing but time, attention, and a computer. Assets that can reach millions of people without requiring your presence. This is the greatest wealth opportunity of our generation, and most people do not realize it. Because digital assets are invisible. They do not look like wealth. They do not feel like wealth. But they are. And they are accessible to anyone willing to build. Let me explain what digital assets are. A digital asset is anything that exists online and delivers value repeatedly without requiring your constant involvement. It could be an e-book, a course, a video, a template, a piece of software, a website, a newsletter, a podcast. Anything that can be created once and consumed many times. The beauty of digital assets is that they scale infinitely. If you write a book, it can be read by one person or 1 million people. The effort to create it is the same. If you record a course, it can teach 10 people or 10,000 people. The work is done once, but the value is delivered repeatedly. This is leverage. This is how small efforts create massive results. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who knows how to bake bread. They could teach people in person, one student at a time. Maybe they charge $50 per lesson. They could teach 10 people a month and earn $500. But they are limited by time. They can only teach so many people. And when they stop teaching, the income stops. Now imagine the same person, but they create a video course. They record themselves baking bread. They explain the process step by step. They upload the course online and sell it for $20. In the first month, they sell 5 courses. They earn $100, less than they would have earned teaching in person. But here is the difference. The course keeps selling. Month after month. Year after year. They do not need to teach again. The video teaches for them. After a year, they have sold 300 courses. That is $6,000. Income they earned while they were sleeping, while they were working, while they were spending time with family. And the course is still selling. It will sell next year, and the year after, and the year after that. This is the power of digital assets. They work for you indefinitely. And here is the part most people miss. Creating a digital asset does not require perfection. It does not require expensive equipment. It does not require a large audience. You can start with a phone, with a microphone, with free software. You can create something simple, publish it, and improve it over time. You do not need to wait until you are an expert. You just need to know more than the person you are teaching. Digital assets are also unique because they have almost no cost to replicate. If you sell a physical product, you must make each one. You must buy materials. You must ship it. You must store inventory. But a digital product can be sold infinite times without any additional cost. Once it is created, it can be delivered to one person or 1 million people at the same cost. 0. This changes everything, because it means even a small digital asset can generate significant income if enough people buy it. And with the internet, reaching people is easier than ever. You do not need a publisher. You do not need a distributor. You do not need permission. You just need to create something valuable and share it where people can find it. Now let me talk about another form of digital asset: content. Content is anything you create that delivers value, entertainment, or education. A blog post, a video, a podcast episode, a social media post. Content is how you build an audience, and an audience over time becomes an asset. Because an audience is a group of people who trust you, who listen to you, who value what you create. And once you have an audience, you can offer them products, services, or opportunities. You can build businesses. You can create partnerships. You can monetize in ways that did not exist before. But the audience comes first, and the audience is built through consistent, valuable content. Most people underestimate the power of content. They think it is just noise, just social media, just entertainment. But content is how modern wealth is built. It is how brands are created. It is how trust is earned. It is how leverage is multiplied. Because content travels. It reaches people you will never meet. It works while you sleep. It compounds over time. Let me give you another example. Imagine someone who loves fitness. They start sharing workout tips online. Simple videos, 5 minutes long. They do not have a huge following, just a few hundred people, but they stay consistent. They post every week. They provide value. They help people. And slowly, their audience grows. After a year, they have 5,000 followers. After 2 years, 20,000. And now they have leverage. They create a workout program and sell it for $30. If 1% of their audience buys it, that is 200 people. $6,000 from one product, and the product can sell again next month, and the month after, and the audience keeps growing. This is how digital assets and content work together. The content builds the audience buys the assets, and the cycle continues. But here is what stops most people. They think they need to be famous. They think they need millions of followers. They think they need to go viral. But that is not true. You do not need millions of people. You need the right people. You need people who value what you create. And even a small audience, if it trusts you, can generate significant income. There is a concept called 1,000 true fans. The idea is simple. If you have 1,000 people who truly value what you create, people who will buy anything you offer, you can build a sustainable income. If each person spends $100 a year on your products or services, that is $100,000. You do not need to be a celebrity. You do not need to be famous. You just need 1,000 people who trust you. And building 1,000 true fans is possible for anyone willing to create valuable content consistently. Lao Tzu said, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." Building a digital asset is the same. You do not need to create a masterpiece. You do not need to have everything figured out. You just need to take the first step. Create something, publish it, share it, learn from it, improve it, and take the next step, and the next. And over time, those steps compound into something remarkable. So let me ask you this. What knowledge do you have that could help someone? What skill could you teach? What problem could you solve? What value could you create? You do not need to be the best. You just need to be helpful. You do not need to reach everyone. You just need to reach someone. And once you help one person, you can help another, and another. And over time, those digital assets stack. They multiply. They become the foundation of freedom. In the next chapter, we will talk about skills as underestimated currency. We will explore how your knowledge, your experience, your abilities are hidden forms of capital. We will discover how skills can be more valuable than money. And we will uncover how investing in yourself is the safest, highest return investment you can make. Because assets can be taken, money can be lost, but skills, once learned, are yours forever. Chapter 9. Skills as Hidden Capital. When people think about wealth, they think about money, about savings, about investments, about property. But there is another form of wealth that most people overlook. A form of wealth that cannot be stolen, cannot be taxed, cannot be lost in a market crash. That wealth is skill, and skill, when understood correctly, is the most valuable asset you can own. Let me explain. Money is valuable because it can be exchanged for things you need. But money is also fragile. It can be spent. It can be lost. It can be inflated away. If you lose your money, it is gone. But if you lose your job and you have valuable skills, you can earn again. You can create again. You can build again. Skills are durable. Skills are portable. Skills are infinite in their application. Think about it this way. If someone gave you $1 million but took away all your skills, all your knowledge, all your abilities, how long would the money last? Maybe a few years, maybe a decade if you were careful, but eventually it would run out. And when it did, you would have nothing. No way to earn, no way to create value, no way to rebuild. But if someone took away all your money but left you with your skills, how long would it take to rebuild? Not long, maybe a few months, maybe a year, because skills allow you to create value, and value can be exchanged for money. Skills are the engine. Money is just the fuel. This is why the wealthiest people in the world are not the ones who inherited money. They are the ones who built valuable skills. Skills in leadership, in communication, in problem-solving, in building systems, in creating value. These skills allowed them to build businesses, to create assets, to generate wealth from nothing, and even if they lost everything, they could rebuild, because the skills remain. But most people do not invest in skills. They invest in possessions, in things that lose value, in things that do not make them more capable. They buy cars, clothes, gadgets, but they do not buy books. They do not take courses. They do not invest in learning. And so they stay the same, year after year. Their income stays the same. Their opportunities stay the same, because their skills stay the same. Wealthy people think differently. They see skills as capital. They invest in learning. They invest in mentors. They invest in experiences that teach them. They do not see education as something that ends after school. They see it as a lifelong process. They know that every new skill they learn increases their value, increases their options, increases their ability to create wealth. And here is the beautiful part. Investing in skills has the highest return of any investment. If you invest in stocks, you might earn 10% a year. If you invest in real estate, maybe 15%. But if you invest in a skill that increases your income by even $5,000 a year, and that skill lasts for decades, the return is infinite. Because you did not just earn money, you increased your capacity to earn forever. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who earns $40,000 a year. They decide to learn copywriting. They invest $300 in a course. They spend 3 months practicing. They build a portfolio. They start offering their services. Within 6 months, they are earning an extra $1,000 a month from freelance copywriting. That is $12,000 a year. In 2 years, they have earned $24,000, all from a $300 investment. That is an 8,000% return. No stock, no real estate, no business can match that. And the skill does not go away. They can use it for the rest of their life. They can teach it. They can build a business around it. They can create products with it. The skill compounds. It multiplies. It opens doors that would have stayed closed. This is why skills are hidden capital, because most people do not see them as wealth. But they are. They are the foundation of everything. Now let me talk about the skills that matter most. Not all skills are equally valuable. Some skills are narrow. They apply to one job, one industry, one situation. If that job disappears, the skill becomes useless. But other skills are broad. They apply everywhere, to every industry, to every situation. These are the skills you want to build. These are the skills that create lasting wealth. Communication is one of the most valuable skills. If you can communicate clearly, if you can write well, if you can speak persuasively, you will always be valuable. Because every business needs communication. Every leader needs communication. Every relationship depends on communication. This skill alone can open more doors than any degree. Problem solving is another. If you can identify problems and design solutions, you will always be needed. Because every business has problems, every industry has challenges. The people who solve problems are the people who get paid. The people who create value are the people who build wealth. Learning how to learn is perhaps the most valuable skill of all, because the world changes. Industries evolve. Technologies shift. The skills that are valuable today might not be valuable tomorrow, but if you know how to learn quickly, if you can adapt, if you can teach yourself anything, you will never be obsolete. You will always be able to create value. You will always be able to earn. These skills are not taught in school. They are not measured by degrees. But they are the skills that create wealth. They are the skills that give you freedom. They are the skills that make you unstoppable, and the best part is they can be learned by anyone, at any age, at any income level. You do not need permission. You do not need credentials. You just need the willingness to invest time into becoming more capable. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "No one can take away your education. You can lose money. You can lose property. You can lose status, but you cannot lose what you have learned. What you know is yours forever, and what you know determines what you can create, what you can earn, what you can build." So let me ask you this. What is one skill you could learn that would increase your value? What is one ability you could develop that would open new opportunities? It does not need to be complicated. It does not need to be expensive. It could be writing. It could be speaking, it could be design, it could be coding, it could be teaching, it could be selling. Anything that makes you more capable, anything that increases your ability to create value. And here is the truth. You already have skills, you already have knowledge, you already have experience. You just do not see it as valuable because it feels normal to you. But what feels normal to you might be extraordinary to someone else. What you know might be exactly what someone else needs to learn. And if you can package that knowledge, if you can teach it, if you can share it, it becomes an asset. This is why self-awareness is so important. You must recognize your own value. You must see your skills not as ordinary but as capital, as tools, as assets that can be leveraged, shared, and multiplied. Because once you see your skills this way, you will stop undervaluing yourself. You will stop trading your time for too little money. You will start building systems that multiply your knowledge. And that shift is the beginning of wealth. In the next chapter, we will explore the psychology of ownership and patience. We will talk about why calm people often win financially. We will discover why noise is expensive and silence is profitable. and we will uncover the deeper truths about how wealth is built not through intensity, but through steady, patient, intelligent action. Because wealth is not loud, wealth is quiet, and the quieter you become, the more you hear. Chapter 10. The Psychology of Ownership and Patience. There is a difference between wanting wealth and being ready for wealth. Most people want wealth. They want freedom. They want options. They want security. But wanting is not the same as being ready, because wealth requires something most people are not willing to give: patience. And patience is not passive. Patience is active. Patience is strategic. Patience is the quiet strength that allows you to build while others quit. Let me tell you something most people do not understand. Wealthy people are calm, not because they have no problems, not because everything is easy, but because they think in decades, not days. They measure success in years, not weeks. They build slowly, steadily, without panic. And that calmness, that ability to tolerate delayed gratification, is what separates them from everyone else. Most people are impatient. They want results now. They want proof today. They want wealth this year. And when it does not come quickly, they panic. They quit. They chase the next thing, the next opportunity, the next shortcut. And so they spend their entire lives starting and stopping, building and abandoning, moving fast but going nowhere. But wealth is not built through speed. Wealth is built through consistency, through patience, through the ability to stay focused on one thing long enough for it to compound. And compounding, by its nature, is slow at first, painfully slow. You invest time, and you see almost nothing. You invest more time, and the results are still small. And so most people quit. They assume it is not working. They assume they are wasting their effort. But they are wrong. They quit right before the compounding begins. Let me give you an example. Imagine planting a bamboo tree. You water it. You care for it. You protect it. And for 5 years you see almost nothing. Maybe a tiny shoot. Maybe nothing at all. Just soil. Just waiting. Most people would give up. They would assume the seed is dead, that their effort is wasted. But if you keep watering, if you keep caring, something remarkable happens. In the 6th year, the bamboo grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Not because it suddenly started growing, but because it spent 5 years building roots, deep, strong roots that could support rapid growth. This is how wealth works. You build in silence. You invest in the unseen. You create systems that do not pay you immediately, and it feels like nothing is happening. It feels like you are wasting your time. But you are not. You are building roots. And when the roots are strong enough, the growth is unstoppable. But most people do not have the patience to build roots. They want the tree now. They want the fruit now. They want the wealth now. And so they never plant. Or they plant and quit. And they spend their entire lives wondering why wealth never came, why freedom never arrived, why others succeeded and they did not. And the answer is simple. They were not willing to wait. Patience is not just about waiting. Patience is about trusting the process. It is about believing that the work you are doing today will pay you tomorrow. It is about having the confidence to build even when you cannot see the results. It is about choosing long-term wealth over short-term comfort. And that choice, that quiet decision to delay gratification, is what creates freedom. Now let me talk about ownership, because ownership is not just about owning things. Ownership is a mindset. It is the belief that you are responsible for your outcomes, that you control your future, that you are not a victim of circumstances, but an architect of your life. And this mindset, this sense of ownership, changes everything. People who lack ownership blame. They blame their boss, their job, their circumstances, the economy, the system. They see themselves as powerless, as trapped, And because they see themselves this way, they stay trapped, because if you believe you have no power, you will never use the power you have. You will never build, you will never create, you will just wait for someone to save you, and no one is coming. But people who have ownership think differently. They do not blame, they build, they do not complain, they create, they do not wait for permission. They take responsibility, and because they see themselves as the architects of their future, they act like architects. They design, they plan, they build systems, and over time, those systems set them free. Ownership also means owning your mistakes, owning your failures, owning the fact that if you are stuck, it is because you have not built a way out yet. Not because you are incapable, not because it is impossible, but because you have not invested the time, the energy, the patience required to build. And once you own that, once you accept that responsibility, you become unstoppable, because you are no longer waiting for the world to change. You are changing yourself. And here is the part that most people miss. Ownership creates calm. When you own your outcomes, you stop panicking. You stop reacting. You stop chasing, because you know that wealth is built slowly. You know that systems take time. You know that compounding requires patience, and so you build without anxiety, without desperation, without fear. You build because you trust the process. And that trust, that calm confidence, is what allows you to stay consistent when others quit. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Ownership is realizing that you cannot control the economy, you cannot control the market, you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control what you build. You can control how you respond. You can control whether you quit or continue. And that control, that ownership, is the foundation of wealth. Now let me talk about why calm people win financially. Because the financial world rewards patience, it rewards discipline, it rewards the ability to think long-term. And calm people, by their nature, think long-term. They do not panic when the market drops. They do not chase trends. They do not make impulsive decisions. They build, they wait, they trust. And over time, they win. Panic is expensive. Panic makes you sell when you should hold. Panic makes you quit when you should continue. Panic makes you chase when you should wait. And so panicked people lose. They lose money. They lose time. They lose opportunities, not because they are unlucky, but because they cannot tolerate discomfort. They cannot tolerate uncertainty. They cannot tolerate delayed gratification. But calm people can. Calm people understand that markets fluctuate, that progress is not linear, that wealth is built through cycles, not straight lines, and so they do not react. They respond. They stay focused. They stay consistent. And over decades, that consistency compounds into extraordinary wealth. There is a saying, "Noise is expensive, silence is profitable." Let me explain what this means. Noise is the constant chatter, the trends, the hype, the fear, the excitement, the news, the opinions, the distractions. And noise makes you react. It makes you trade too often. It makes you change strategies. It makes you doubt yourself. And every time you react to noise, you lose. You lose money. You lose focus. You lose momentum. But silence is different. Silence is the ability to ignore noise, to focus on your plan, to build without distraction, to invest without panic, to trust your systems without constantly questioning them. And silence, over time, is incredibly profitable, because while everyone else is reacting, you are building. While everyone else is chasing, you are compounding. While everyone else is panicking, you are calm. And calmness wins. This does not mean you ignore reality. It does not mean you avoid information. It means you filter. You focus on what matters. You ignore what does not. You build systems that work in any market, and you trust those systems enough to let them run without constant interference. Let me give you an example. Imagine two investors. Both start with the same amount of money. Both invest in the same assets. But the first investor checks their portfolio every day. They read the news. They watch the market. They react to every fluctuation. When the market drops, they panic and sell. When the market rises, they buy. They are constantly moving, constantly reacting, constantly stressed. The second investor builds a plan and trusts it. They invest. They forget. They check their portfolio once a year. They do not react to noise. They do not panic. They do not chase. They just build. They just wait. And after 20 years, the second investor has far more wealth. Not because they were smarter, not because they worked harder, but because they were calm, because they ignored noise, because they trusted the process. This is the power of patience and ownership. Patience allows you to build slowly. Ownership allows you to build responsibly. And together, they create the foundation of lasting wealth. Wealth that is not built on luck or timing or shortcuts, but on discipline, on consistency, on the quiet confidence that what you are building will pay you, even if it takes years. So let me ask you this. Are you building with patience, or are you chasing results? Are you reacting to noise, or are you trusting your process? Are you owning your outcomes, or are you blaming your circumstances? Because the answers to these questions will determine everything. They will determine whether you build wealth or just dream about it, whether you create freedom or stay trapped, whether you become calm or stay anxious. Wealth is quiet. Wealth is patient. Wealth is built in silence, not in noise. And the more you embrace this truth, the more you will see it working in your life. You will stop chasing. You will start building. You will stop panicking. You will start trusting. And over time, that shift will change everything. In the next chapter, we will explore long-term thinking in a short-term world. We will talk about delayed gratification without moral pressure. We will discover what it really feels like to live a wealthy life. And we will uncover why most people never experience true wealth, not because they cannot build it, but because they do not know what they are building toward. Because wealth is not just about money, it is about dignity, choice, and peace. And once you understand that, everything changes. Chapter 11. Long-term thinking in a short-term world. We live in a world that worships speed, fast food, fast money, fast results. Everything is designed to give you what you want right now. Instant gratification is not just available, it is expected. It is normalized. And so people have lost the ability to wait. They have lost the ability to build. They have lost the ability to think beyond today, beyond this week, beyond this month. But wealth is not built in a day. Wealth is not built in a month. Wealth is not even built in a year. Wealth is built over decades. And the people who understand this, the people who can think long-term in a short-term world, are the people who win. Not because they are smarter, not because they work harder, but because they can see further. They can wait longer. They can tolerate discomfort longer than everyone else. Let me ask you something. If I offered you $1,000 today, or $10,000 in 5 years, which would you choose? Most people choose the 1,000 today, not because it is the better choice, but because 5 years feels too far away. It feels uncertain. It feels like forever. And so they take the smaller amount. They choose immediate comfort over future wealth. And that choice, repeated over and over, is why most people never build wealth. But wealthy people think differently. They choose the 10,000, not because they do not need money today, but because they understand compounding. They understand that waiting creates value. They understand that 5 years will pass whether they wait or not. And when those 5 years are over, they want to be wealthier, not poorer. They want to have built something, not just consumed something. This is the essence of long-term thinking. It is the ability to delay gratification, to choose future wealth over present comfort, to invest today for a payoff tomorrow. And this ability, this mindset, is rare, because the world is designed to make you consume, to make you spend, to make you choose now over later. And most people fall for it. They earn money and they spend it. They get a raise and they increase their lifestyle. They work harder and they buy more. And so they never build, they never invest, they never create assets. They just consume, month after month, year after year, and nothing ever changes. But builders are different. Builders delay. They earn money and they invest it. They get a raise and they save it. They work harder and they build systems. They do not increase their lifestyle immediately. They increase their assets first. And only after their assets are generating income do they increase their spending. This is delayed gratification. This is long-term thinking. And this is how wealth is built. Now let me be clear. Delayed gratification is not about suffering. It is not about denying yourself forever. It is not about living miserably so you can be rich someday. It is about making intelligent choices. It is about understanding that every dollar you spend today is a dollar that cannot compound tomorrow. It is about asking yourself, do I need this now, or can I wait and let this money grow? Most people never ask this question. They see money and they spend it. They see something they want and they buy it. They do not think about opportunity cost. They do not think about what that money could become if they invested it instead. They just consume. And so they trade long-term wealth for short-term pleasure. And that trade, repeated over time, keeps them poor. But here is the truth. Delayed gratification does not feel like sacrifice when you understand what you are building toward. When you know that the money you save today will buy you freedom tomorrow, it does not feel painful. It feels strategic. When you know that the hours you invest into building a system today will give you time back later, it does not feel like a burden. It feels like progress. The problem is, most people do not know what they are building toward. They do not have a vision. They do not have a goal. They just know they want more money. But more money for what? More money to spend. More money to consume. If that is the goal, then delayed gratification will always feel like suffering. Because you are delaying pleasure without a clear reason. But if your goal is freedom, if your goal is ownership, if your goal is time, then delayed gratification becomes easy. Because you are not giving up pleasure. You are trading temporary pleasure for permanent freedom. You are trading short-term comfort for long-term peace. And once you see it that way, the choice is obvious. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who earns $3,000 a month. They spend $2,500 on expenses and have $500 left. Most people would spend that $500, new clothes, dinner out, entertainment, immediate pleasure. And there is nothing wrong with pleasure, but that $500, if invested, becomes something more. If they invest $500 a month into building a small system, into creating a digital product, into learning a skill, after 1 year they have invested $6,000 worth of time and money, and now they have an asset. Maybe it is generating $100 a month, maybe $200. It is not much, but it is income they did not have before. Income that compounds. After 5 years of investing that $500 a month into building, into systems, into assets, they might have several streams of income. Income that totals $1,000 a month, $2,000, maybe more. And now they have options. They can work less. They can choose better opportunities. They can say no to things that drain them. They have freedom. not because they earned more, but because they invested wisely, because they thought long-term. But the person who spent the 500 every month has nothing, no assets, no systems, no additional income, just memories of dinners and clothes and things that no longer matter. They are still earning 3,000 a month, still stuck, still trading time for money. And they wonder why nothing has changed. They wonder why wealth never came. But it is not a mystery. They chose short-term pleasure over long-term wealth, and that choice compounded into nothing. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Most people feel poor, not because they do not have enough, but because they cannot stop wanting more right now. They cannot delay. They cannot wait. They cannot think beyond today. And so they stay poor, not in income, but in mindset, not in resources, but in discipline. Long-term thinking is also about seeing beyond yourself. It is about building something that lasts, something that serves others, something that creates value beyond your lifetime. Wealthy people do not just build for themselves, they build for their children, for their community, for the future. And that long-term vision gives their work meaning. It gives them patience. It gives them the strength to endure short-term discomfort for long-term impact. And here is the beautiful part. The longer you think, the calmer you become, because you are not reacting to today. You are building for tomorrow. You are not panicking about this month's bills. You are focused on next year's freedom. You are not stressed about short-term fluctuations. You are confident in long-term growth. And that confidence, that calmness, is what allows you to build without burning out. So let me ask you this. What are you building toward? Not what do you want to buy, not what do you want to have, but what kind of life do you want to live? Do you want a life where you are always working, always stressed, always trapped? Or do you want a life where you have time, where you have choice, where you have peace? Because the life you want is built through the choices you make today, through the decisions to delay, to invest, to build. And those choices, compounded over time, create everything. In the next chapter, we will redefine what wealth actually means. We will move beyond money. We will talk about dignity, choice, and internal peace. We will explore what a wealthy life actually feels like. And we will discover that you might be closer to wealth than you think. Because wealth is not a number. Wealth is a state of being. And once you understand that, you will see that freedom is not as far away as it seems. Chapter 12. Redefining Wealth. When you think about wealth, what do you see? A mansion, a luxury car, a private jet, expensive clothes, exotic vacations. For most people, wealth looks like excess, like abundance of things, like the ability to buy anything, go anywhere, own everything. But that is not wealth. That is consumption. That is spending. And spending, no matter how extravagant, is not the same as being wealthy. Let me tell you what wealth really is. Wealth is waking up and not feeling anxious about money. Wealth is having the option to say no to work that drains you. Wealth is being able to spend time with the people you love without guilt. Wealth is the absence of financial stress. Wealth is freedom, not freedom to buy everything, but freedom to choose, to rest, to live with dignity, to exist without constantly worrying about survival. Most people chase the appearance of wealth. They buy things they cannot afford to impress people they do not like. They work jobs they hate to maintain lifestyles that exhaust them. They look successful on the outside, but feel trapped on the inside. They have nice things but no time. They have status but no peace. They have income but no freedom. This is not wealth. This is a performance, and the performance is exhausting. True wealth is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not need to be seen. It is the calm confidence of knowing that your needs are met, that your systems are working, that your future is secure. It is the ability to walk away from opportunities that do not serve you. It is the power to choose how you spend your time. It is the dignity of not being desperate, of not being dependent, of not being controlled by fear. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people. The first person earns $200,000 a year. They live in a big house. They drive an expensive car. They wear designer clothes. They take luxury vacations. They look wealthy, but they are drowning in debt. Their mortgage is suffocating. Their car payment is crushing. Their credit cards are maxed. They cannot afford to lose their job. They cannot afford to take a break. They are one emergency away from collapse. They are not wealthy. They are performing wealth, and the performance is killing them. Now imagine a second person. They earn $70,000 a year. They live in a modest home. They drive a reliable car. They wear simple clothes. They take affordable vacations. They do not look wealthy, but they have no debt. They own their home. They have investments. They have systems generating passive income. They have 6 months of expenses saved. They could lose their job tomorrow and be fine. They could take a year off and be fine. They have freedom. They have peace. They have dignity. They are wealthy. This is the difference. Wealth is not about how much you earn. It is about how much you keep, how much you invest, how much freedom you have. It is not about the size of your house. It is about the size of your options. It is not about the car you drive. It is about the life you control. And here is the part that changes everything. Wealth is not a number. There is no specific amount of money that makes you wealthy, because wealth is relative. It is personal. It depends on your needs, your values, your goals. For some people, having $10,000 in the bank feels wealthy. For others, having 10 million is not enough. The number does not matter. What matters is the feeling, the freedom, the peace. So let me redefine wealth for you. Wealth is having enough passive income to cover your basic needs. Wealth is having enough assets that you do not need to work if you choose not to. Wealth is having enough savings that emergencies do not destroy you. Wealth is having enough time to spend on things that matter. Wealth is having enough dignity that you do not have to beg, compromise, or sacrifice your values for money. This kind of wealth is accessible to most people. You do not need to be a millionaire. You do not need to be famous. You do not need to inherit anything. You just need to build systems. You just need to invest consistently. You just need to live below your means and save the difference. You just need to delay gratification long enough for your assets to compound. And if you do this, if you stay disciplined, you will reach a point where you are financially free, not rich, not extravagant, but free. And freedom is the truest form of wealth. Now let me talk about dignity, because dignity is rarely discussed when people talk about wealth. But dignity is everything. Dignity is the ability to live without desperation, without begging, without compromising who you are for a paycheck. Dignity is the ability to say no, to walk away, to choose yourself. And most people do not have this. They are dependent. They are trapped. They are one paycheck away from crisis, and that dependence robs them of dignity. But when you build wealth, when you build systems, when you create assets that pay you independently, you gain dignity. You are no longer desperate. You are no longer powerless. You are no longer controlled by fear. You can negotiate from a position of strength. You can make choices based on what is right, not what pays the most. You can live with integrity, and that integrity, that dignity, is priceless. Aristotle once said, "Happiness depends upon ourselves. Wealth is the same. Wealth depends upon the choices you make, the systems you build, the discipline you maintain. It is not given to you, it is not inherited, it is created through patience, through consistency, through intelligent action, and once you create it, once you own it, no one can take it from you." Let me also talk about peace. Because peace is the ultimate goal. Not money, not things, not status. Peace. The deep, internal calm that comes from knowing you are okay, that you are secure, that you have built something that will support you, that you do not need to worry, that you can rest without guilt, that you can wake up without anxiety. This is wealth. This is what you are building toward, not a bigger house, not a faster car, but peace. And peace is worth more than anything money can buy. Most people never experience this peace. They work their entire lives. They earn, they spend, they survive, but they never rest. They never feel secure. They never feel free, because they never built anything that worked for them. They never created systems. They never invested in assets. They just worked. And when they stop working, the money stops, and the anxiety never ends. But you are different. You are building. You are creating. You are investing. And if you stay consistent, if you stay patient, you will reach a point where you feel it, where you wake up and realize, I am okay. I am secure. I have built something that works. I have freedom. I have peace. And that moment, that realization, is worth every hour you invested, every sacrifice you made, every temptation you resisted. So let me ask you this. What does wealth mean to you? Not the world's definition, not society's definition, your definition. What does freedom look like? What does peace feel like? What does dignity mean to you? Because once you know, once you have clarity, you can build toward it. You can design a life that reflects your values. You can create wealth on your terms. And that wealth, that freedom, that peace is closer than you think. In the final chapter, we will close gently. We will reassure you. We will remind you that you are capable, that you can build, that you can create, that freedom is not reserved for the lucky or the brilliant. It is available to anyone willing to think differently, to build patiently, to invest consistently, and to trust that the work you are doing today will pay you tomorrow. Stay with me. The final chapter is not a summary. It is an invitation to begin. Chapter 13. You are closer than you think. If you have listened this far, you are already different. You are already thinking differently. You are already questioning the model you were taught. And that questioning, that curiosity, that willingness to see another way, is the first step toward freedom. Most people never take this step. They accept their circumstances as permanent. They believe work is the only way. They trade their time until there is no time left. But you are not most people. You are here. You are listening. You are ready. And I want you to know something. You are closer to freedom than you think. You do not need to build a massive business. You do not need to become a millionaire. You do not need to quit your job tomorrow. You just need to start building. One small system, one small asset, one small step. And that step, if you take it consistently, will compound into something remarkable, into freedom, into peace, into dignity. You already have everything you need. You have time. You have knowledge. You have skills. You have the ability to learn. You have the ability to create. You have the internet. You have access to tools that did not exist a generation ago. You have opportunities that were once reserved for the wealthy. And all you need to do is use them. All you need to do is build. But let me be honest with you. Building is not easy. It is uncomfortable. It is uncertain. It is slow. You will work for months and see almost nothing. You will doubt yourself. You will wonder if you are wasting your time. You will be tempted to quit. And most people do quit. They quit before the compounding begins. They quit before the system works. They quit before freedom arrives. And so they never know how close they were. But you are not going to quit, because you understand now. You understand that wealth is not built through speed. It is built through patience. You understand that systems take time, that compounding requires consistency, that freedom is earned through delayed gratification. And you are willing to wait. You are willing to build. You are willing to trust the process. Let me remind you of what you now know. You know that trading time for money is not freedom. You know that time is currency. You know that builders design the source instead of being the source. You know that small systems quietly outperform heroic effort. You know that fear and impatience are why people delay, but consistency dissolves fear. You know that assets pay you repeatedly while possessions drain you. You know that wealth can be built at any income level. You know that digital assets are the most accessible form of leverage. You know that skills are hidden capital. You know that ownership and patience create calm, and calm people win financially. You know that long-term thinking beats short-term reactions. And you know that wealth is not about money. It is about freedom, dignity, and peace. This knowledge is power. But only if you act, only if you build, only if you take what you have learned and create something with it. Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. It is just information. It does not change your life. Only action changes your life. Only building changes your circumstances. Only consistency creates wealth. So let me give you a simple challenge, a starting point, a way to begin today, right now, without fear, without pressure, without needing to have everything figured out. Choose one small thing you could create this week. Not something massive, not something perfect, just something small, something that delivers value to someone else. It could be a one-page guide, a 5-minute video, a simple template, a helpful checklist, a short article, anything. The content does not matter as much as the act of creating, because when you create something, when you publish it, when you share it, you become a builder. And once you are a builder, everything changes. You do not need to know how it will grow. You do not need to know how it will make money. You just need to create it, put it into the world, and then create another and another. And over time, these small creations will stack. They will improve. They will reach people. They will generate income. They will become the foundation of freedom. And here is the truth. Your first creation will not be perfect. It might not even be good, but it will be real. It will exist. And that existence is everything. Because you cannot improve something that does not exist. You cannot build on nothing. But once you have something, once you have created your first asset, you can improve it, you can expand it, you can build on it. And that process, that cycle of creating and improving, is how wealth is built. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your fear is the way. Your doubt is the way. Your uncertainty is the way. Because on the other side of that discomfort is everything you want. On the other side of that fear is freedom, and the only way through is to act, to build, to create. Even when you are afraid, even when you doubt, even when you do not feel ready, you will never feel fully ready. Readiness is a myth. Readiness is an excuse. The only way to become ready is to start, to take one step, and then another, and another. And over time, those steps will carry you further than you ever imagined. They will carry you to freedom. So I want to leave you with this final thought. You are capable. You are more capable than you realize. You have everything you need to build a wealthy life. Not a life of excess, not a life of performance, but a life of freedom, a life of peace, a life of dignity, a life where you wake up and feel secure, where you have time for the people you love, where you have options, where you are not controlled by fear, where you are not desperate, where you are not trapped. That life is possible. that life is within reach. And it starts with one decision, the decision to stop trading time for money and start building systems, the decision to stop being the source and start designing the source, the decision to stop consuming and start creating, the decision to build even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is slow, even when you cannot see the results. Because the results will come, not today, not tomorrow, but they will come if you stay consistent, if you stay patient, if you stay focused. And when they do, when you wake up one day and realize that your systems are working, that your assets are paying you, that you have freedom, you will look back and see that every hour you invested was worth it. Every sacrifice you made was worth it. Every moment of doubt you pushed through was worth it. You are not starting from zero. You are starting with knowledge, with clarity, with understanding. And that is more than most people ever have. You know what to build. You know why to build. You know how to build. Now all you need to do is begin. So begin. Today. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Now. Choose one small thing to create. One small system to build. One small step to take. And take it. And then take another. And another. And trust that the path you are building step by step will lead you to freedom. You are closer than you think. You are capable. You are ready. And the life you want is waiting for you on the other side of action. So go, build, create, invest, and become the architect of your own freedom. The journey begins now.